Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
Okay. Gentlemen, ladies.
All right, we're on.
Good evening, Rolling Meadows. This is the August 22nd, 2017 meeting of the City of Rolling Meadows City Council. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon?
Here.
Majikis? Here. Gallo?
Here.
Baner?
Here.
Diastis?
Present.
Beanbus?
Present.
With 6 present and no absent, we have a quorum. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the August 8th, 2017 council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Alderman Cannon has made it and it has been seconded. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes? Seeing none, the question is, shall the minutes be approved? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. Which brings us to the mayor's report. It's been another busy week a couple of weeks in Meadows. First off, I did have the opportunity. I want to thank again the folks that were involved in Wind Down by the Creek, especially Ben Franklin Bank. It was a great time. I believe the count was 500, Ms. Cezak, approximately? 800 or more. Oh, 800 or more. Always like to be corrected upwards. Thank you very much. I also had the opportunity to do the commencement speech for the Northwest Suburban College that is headquartered here in Meadows. They had 71 summer graduates, and it's all basically in the medical field, so that was a great honor, especially to find out that 90% of them already had jobs before they graduated. And also, I went to the library ribbon cutting open house this past Sunday, and for those of you who should go take a visit, I mean, they really have done an outstanding job, and I believe it was what was the saying? On time, under budget,
No debt.
and no debt. So with a government project, that was really quite amazing. And finally, I would just like to thank staff for the last week and a half for all their efforts as we went through a transition and a mourning period. That's all I have. Ward reports? Alderman.
Thank you, Mayor. I had, with the passing of our esteemed friend, colleague, Alderman Jerry Hill, I had quite a few residents that had attended the funeral and the wake and the luncheon and everything that had come up to me and asked me to please say a huge thank you and how proud they are to be residents of this city. Thank you to the police department. Thank you to the fire department. Thank you for the staff. And this is coming from, I can't tell you, I stopped counting at 15 residents, but they wanted me to make sure I did say something. And especially a special thank you to Public Works. They knew who they are and what they did. And to Mrs. Hill, Nancy, and to Jerry. So, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Majikis. Any other board reports? Alderman Diastis.
Thank you. I've had several residents contact me with regard to speeding and overnight parking, street parking on East Frontage Road south of Sycamore. The police chief and I have had several conversations, and I believe, Chief, you've got some updates and some plans for it to share with us.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Alderman Diastis. I did look into that matter. I said we received a couple of complaints regarding some vehicles parking on East Frontage in that Sycamore area. As we looked into it, those vehicles are in violation. You cannot park on these city streets from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. We have been in the process right now of notifying some of the residents out there because they have parked there for some time. We have not enforced that area for some reason, but we are going to start. We actually started issuing warnings last night. So like I said, there is no parking on that area, and we will begin more stringent enforcement of that section. We also did increase our speed enforcement on East Frontage. We've received several complaints as we usually do in that area. We have issued several citations just recently. We also have the speed trailer up there just to remind motorists, please, to slow down and obey the speed limit.
Thank you, Chief.
Are there any other ward reports? Seeing none, we do have 2 sign-ins for the signatories on the sheet. I have something to read for everyone. The council meeting is now open to members of the audience for 20 minutes to address the city council on matters that are not on the agenda or regarding other issues. We ask that persons wishing to address the city council keep their comments to 5 minutes in length. Comments must be addressed to the council as a whole through the mayor, and profanity may not be used in any form. The first person tonight is Steve Hollish. Thank
Good
you, sir.
evening. Okay. First of all, I want to thank Alderman Cannon for his reach out in the last meeting as putting me in there, my involvement with the city. I appreciate your comments. But I want to discuss the resolution for tonight, first reading, the Dunkin' Donuts. And I've looked through the information, and it's just kind of indicates the same thing as with the Fuller Car Wash, that you want to restrict the left turn onto Algonquin between certain hours. And again, this isn't too fair for the residents to impose that on them. And if the actual owner wants to put that in, that's a different story. But I don't think the city should be saying you can't do this turning. And when I read through the information, it was kind of documented that they indicated, as an example, the turn lane in McDonald's, the turn lane at the Steak and Shake, the turn lane at Myers. All those different areas are different. They can't be compared to the Dunkin' Donuts property. If you want to go one step further, they mentioned also IDOT restrictions. Well, IDOT doesn't restrict Burger King, and Burger King is closer to the intersection than anything, and there's no restriction on them. If you go on the other side of Algonquin, there's no restrictions anywhere saying you can't turn into traffic. So if this comes up, and I noticed that in the Planning Commission, it was recommended that this be in the resolution, and I looked and the resolution, it was kind of like in the same writing as the last resolution that it's going to be considered as part of it. I think you should recommend taking that out and leave it up to the owner. If at some point in time later on he decides he wants it, he can come to the city and say, I'd like the signage up. But at this point, I think it's just let the people decide if they want to pull out or not pull out. And as a side note, when I was looking through the documentation, it kind of listed in the write-up, there was 1 inbound lane and 2 outbound lanes, 1 for left turn, 1 for right turn. But if you look at the actual plots of the property, it showed 3 outbound lanes. So it was kind of strange there, but I took it as the writing is the one you're going to enforce. 1 inbound, 2 outbound, 1 being left turn, 1 being right turn, and with no restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hollish, for your comments. The next sign-in person is Nancy Hill.
Hi, everyone.
Good
Going to
evening.
make it through this.
Good evening and welcome.
I came here today to just say thank you to the City of Rolling Meadows. Thank you to Mayor Prana, the City Council, the Police Department, the Fire Department, Public Works, and all city employees. The outpouring of support from everyone has been overwhelmingly amazing. I can't thank you enough. I'm sorry. Jerry was really enjoying his work with the city. With every meeting he had, every person he met, he spoke with passion and truth. So with that said, let's fill that Dominic slot. get on with the firehouses, and make downtown Rolling Meadows a place to be proud of. That's all I've got to say. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you for your comments. Just want you to know, Ms. Hill, you're making the next part, going on to the meeting, a little challenging, but that's okay. Jerry's smiling up above us. The next item on the agenda is the consent ordinance. It consists of items A and B. Does any alderman wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Alderman Diastis.
Yes, I'd like to remove A.
Thank you. With removal of A, we do not have a consent agenda. We will go forward with A. Is there a motion to go forward with A? Mr. Cannon? Yes. It's been seconded. Ordinance A is grant a special use and sign appeal for the drive-in through retail operation C2 Commercial District, 1921 Algonquin Road, Dunkin' Donuts, Baskin Robbins. The ordinance, if adopted, would grant a special use and sign appeal for the drive-through proposed at Dunkin' Donuts, Baskin Robbins. At its meeting held on Wednesday, August 2nd, 2017, the Planning and Zoning Commission gave unanimous approval to the proposed redevelopment with the conditions. Mr. Diastis, since you brought this up first.
Thank you, sir. I would like to make a motion to amend Section 2, subsection F, remove that section.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Thank you.
Discussion on the amendment.
Do we have a discussion on the amendment? Mr. Diastis.
Thank you. I would agree with what Mr. Hollish said, that I don't believe that the city should be restricting left turn access there. There are a lot of other businesses on Algonquin that don't have it, and I think we should be consistent. So that's my rationale for doing that. If in the future the owner would like to have no left turn there, that's his prerogative, and the city will gladly support him. But at this point in time, I don't think we should do that. So that's why I'm asking to have that section removed.
Thank you. Further discussion? Mr. Cannon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll go along with what Mr. Diastis said. Just to refresh my memory, I drove over there tonight, and just as a matter of fact, if you take the exit that goes out on New Wilkie, you're actually significantly closer to the intersection than you are off of Algonquin. And I would also point out that when you do it at New Wilkie, you're actually going across 3 full lanes because you got the 2 lanes that are going south plus the turn lane. So it's even a longer distance. I know the traffic count isn't quite as high there, but I'm not a traffic engineer, but it seems like we'd be even closer. It would make it even less safe, in my opinion. And I don't think Burger King is restricted there. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
We have further discussion? I just have a question for Mr. Vogt. So in regard to this, since you were handling the situation, I would just like staff's comment on it.
Yes, Mayor. From a staff standpoint, looking at this with the information that the petitioner submitted, their engineer submitted, staff really is concerned about safety more than anything and taking a more conservative approach than what the traffic engineer for the petitioner took. They did a gap analysis and indicated that they felt there were significant gaps to be able to make the left turns out of the site even at the morning and afternoon rush hour. But staff tends to want to put a burden on the business or the petitioner from the standpoint of we're basing our comments and our evaluation on projected numbers that the traffic engineers are generating on behalf of the petitioner. We would rather take the approach to install signs like this to be safer, to prohibit those maneuvers at the morning and afternoon rush hour, and allow the petitioner, as we said in our report to the Planning and Zoning Commission, to allow 6 months, a year to pass if the petitioner thinks that there should be some consideration for removing those signs, to request that. Staff can certainly, with the assistance of our city engineer, look at that, do a study, and actually use real traffic counts, real operational happenings with the business being fully open and operational than to just base it on projections. So that's the rationale and the background of staff on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Bolt. Are there any other discussion on the matter? Will the clerk please call the roll?
For the amendment?
Yes, for the amendment.
Majikis?
No.
Gallo?
No.
Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
For approving and 2 against, the amendment is passed. Which brings us back to the original ordinance A.
Is there any discussion on
Is there any discussion on the original ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll then?
Gallo?
I'm sorry.
The original ordinance
As amended?
Yes.
as amended.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
With 6 in favor and 0 against, it passes. This brings us to ordinance B, to amend the traffic code. First reading, do we have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Diastis, and has been seconded. The ordinance, if adopted, would amend the traffic code by adopting the Illinois Motor Vehicle Code by reference. Again, the question is, shall this ordinance be moved forward for our second reading? The clerk will please, well, is there any discussion? Since we don't have consent order. Seeing no discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon? Majikis?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
This brings the council to new business, the motion to approve the payments on warrants for 8/22/17 is presented by the Finance Department. Is there a motion to approve that warrant?
So moved.
It has been by Mr. Diastis and second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall the warrant be approved? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
With 6 in favor and none opposed, it passes. This leads us to the consent resolution. The next item on the agenda, it consists of 4 items, D through G. Does any alderman wish to remove an item on the consent agenda for resolutions? Yes, Alderman Cannon.
E and F.
F. Any other items? So then do we have a consent? I will ask for a consent agenda for D and G. Do I have a motion? Mr. Banger, and it has been seconded. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Thank you. This brings us back to Resolution E. Mr. Cannon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess, I apologize that I didn't get a chance.
Excuse me, Mr. Cannon, first I need a motion to approve E. Do I have it? It's so moved by Mr. Banger, it's been second. I'm sorry, now Mr. Cannon.
Okay.
We had a consent agenda, but since they're pulled
I'm
individually,
sorry,
we have
okay.
to do them one by one.
I didn't have time to call people. I've been out of town for most of the last week, so I apologize in front for that. But I guess just a general question I would ask, I'm not really against this, but I'm just curious as to why we're being upheld for $7,500 when it's just from the reading of it, it looks like some other people didn't do their job properly, not our staff. The contractor that we brought in is either late or, I don't know, I guess maybe I would like a better explanation of what's going on, why we're being upheld for $7,500 after we approved everything to begin with, and was not done properly, I guess, is what it looks like.
Mr. Mr. Vogt.
If you wish some explanation, I can provide that. Perhaps the key thing that to say is that there have been some delays, there have been some minor changes, I would say, to the scope of the services. We rely on our architectural expertise to do the general inspections on the site, keep track of it, do some of the project management, and in order to keep them on this project, we need to add to their services to get this project complete. Staff does intend, when the project is complete, to go through and determine if we can recoup some or all of these additional architectural staff service costs from the general contractor due to their delays. It was not anything that was delayed by city staff or by the architect itself. That will not be determined until a later date, so I can't guarantee that that's the case, that we will get our dollars back dollar for the additional cost, but we'll certainly make those efforts to try to pass that cost on to the general contractor.
Thank you, Mr. Vogt. Any further?
Could I just ask, Mr. Mayor, then, in light of what was just said, I appreciate the explanation by Mr. Vogt. Could we ask that we specifically get a report back to us exactly what happens in the end? Sometimes these things happen and we never really know how it was resolved one way or the other.
Is that Mr. Vogt or Mr. Comstock to come back with a report?
Either one of us or both of us, fair
Okay.
enough, and we will certainly do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Banger.
Thank you. Fred, timeline on that, in 2 months, everything will be wrapped up and you'll be able to get back to us, or do you know?
That's what we're counting on, but we keep moving the target completion date by 30 days every month. But yeah, 2 months is, I believe, should be more than adequate to get this project completed.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Alderman Diastis.
Yes, thank you. It says here that there could be an additional 8 to 12 site visits. Does that $7,500 cover that, all of those, or is there going to be more coming back afterwards?
That covers up to 12 site visits.
Okay, so up to. So if there are less, then the 75 is the maximum that we're looking at paying?
At this time, yes.
Okay. I would ask that in the future, you say, whomever wrote this says, additional costs have been incurred due to contractors' inability to complete the construction, et cetera, et cetera. I like what you said, but next time I would ask that you put that in here, that we're going to go back to them. Rather, I don't think we should even have to pay him to begin with if it was their fault. But I would like to see that you say that in here the next time, or whomever writes it, that we are going to go back and ask for our money back, because this is not our fault, and if it was my house, I wouldn't be paying them.
Understood.
Thank you, Mr. Diastis. Any further discussion? Mr. Beanbass?
Yeah, just a clarification. I don't want to beat this one up too bad, Mr. Vogt. So is this an issue between the architect and the subcontractor? Is that what this issue is about? This has nothing really to do with the city, right? It's their issue, right?
It really doesn't have as much to do between the architect and the general contractor as it does between the general contractor and the subcontractors working for the contractor.
So it's the general contractor and the subcontractor are not on the same page?
With some of the scheduling, some of the ordering of materials and the like, yes. I will say that there were some changes that were necessitated, particularly at the garage in the back, that was in part of the architect and staff, but that's very minor compared to all of the scheduling issues that we've been dealing with.
Okay. So, and exactly what was the cause of the delay then? Is it this group that's not got all kinds of issues is why this project has taken so much longer? Why is it taking longer?
I don't want to comment and speculate too much on the details, other than we get working schedules and then those schedules are not adhered to, not met. It's a coordination problem, I would say, in general more than anything.
It's their problem, it's just that we're overseeing it, right?
Correct.
So do they know how unhappy we are?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I got.
No, okay. That. Sorry.
Jim McCall?
Jim, don't they know where you are at this time of night?
I lost my place.
So, thank you. Is there any further Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
With 6 yes and none opposed, the resolution passes.
Are you going to answer?
Yes.
I thought maybe he was on the phone, but I wasn't sure. Just kidding. Yes. Resolution F, do we have a motion to go forward with?
So moved.
Mr. Diaz has made it, has been seconded. Resolution F, number 17-R-102, is to approve the City Hall Police Station generator transfer switch repairs. The resolution, if adopted, would approve a contract with Bethel Electric Power Services, LLC, for the repairs to a transfer switch for the City Police Station emergency generator. The transfer switch, which is the most integral part of the emergency generator, has become unreliable due to age and use. Mr. Cannon, you pulled this one.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I guess just the question I would ask, again, I realize this is work that needs to be done. I have no problem with that. I guess I get nervous all the time when I just see that only one contractor is available to do the work, and even though he was recommended by the manufacturer. That always concerns me that we haven't got other outside bids. I'm sure there's other qualified electrical companies in the city or in the area that could do this work, I think, but I don't know that. I guess in the future, I would just like to see other people contacted to see if there's any difference we can get in price. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Diaz?
Thank you. I'm not sure, but it says staff is recommending funding be provided from building and land fund account. And I would think that this is really capital. It says the building and land fund outside repairs and maintenance and IT capital budgets can accommodate this. So my question, I guess, is where are we paying for this? It should come out of capital since it's $20,000 and it will last at least 10 years.
So, Mr.
It's actually coming out of building and land because it's a repair of an item that's already in place, and it maintains our backup for a city property and the city building.
It's not a new transfer switch?
We will be getting a new switch to a current unit that's in the building, which is used. And again, that's why it's coming out of land and building, because it is a building which is already in here. It's not a whole new generator, and a transfer switch is actually just a small part of our entire maintenance of the whole generator system.
Okay, I guess I don't agree with that, but I understand what you're saying.
Is there any further discussion on item F?
$10,000.
Seeing no further discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Majikis?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
No.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Five approved and one opposed. It does pass. This brings us to other business and reports. There's no mayor appointments, no proclamations. Does the city clerk have a report?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Community items of interest. Mr. Crumstock.
I actually have the next two, and we do start with items of interest. Obviously, as everybody knows, the schools in Rolling Meadows have actually opened, so please drive carefully. Please be aware of what's going around, and obviously with kids, it's a new environment, so they might not be always crossing the street where they should be crossing the street. We do want to reiterate what was stated earlier in the meeting. Thank you to all those who attended the Friday, August 11th, third annual Wind Down by the Creek. We do have a special thank you to all the volunteers who really accommodated and really made this a successful event. We do appreciate all that the stadium did with obviously providing the wine and the beer and all those other items that we had. We do have some new plans for the fourth annual, so we hope to see everybody next August for the next one. In this room on Thursday, Cook County Tax Appeal Board of Review will be conducting an outreach meeting. That, as I said, will be Thursday, August 24th here in the council chambers. It will be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And then obviously this Saturday, August 26th, will be a regularly scheduled farmers and food truck event. And again, the affair happens here in the City Hall parking lot between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. It looks like it will be beautiful weather, about 75 degrees, and we hope everybody will be out for this one. City Hall and Public Works will be closed for Monday, September 4th, in observance of Labor Day. There will be no refuse collection on Monday. However, refuse collection will be delayed one day for the entire week, and we wish everyone a safe and happy Labor Day weekend. Coming up on, obviously, other items is that the 10th annual duck race will be held on Friday, September 8th. This year's race, still sponsored by the city's Environmental Committee, Rotary Club of Rolling Meadows, and the Rolling Meadows Park District Foundation, is scheduled to be held over the bridge over the creek by Kimball Hill Park, and it starts at 7 p.m. And again, it's $5 per duck, or you can purchase a quack pack for 5 ducks for $20. And that's the last time that you will hear me say that this year. Obviously, that same night on Friday, September 8th, we also have the last Friday Rock and Roll in the Meadows for 2017. It is scheduled for that night at Kimball Hill Park, so you can actually come a little early, go to the bridge, watch the ducks, you can start hearing some of the music, and be everything else. The featured band is Heartache Tonight, and it is scheduled to play from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. with a break halfway into it. Obviously, the Meadows Cruise Nights are still going on. They go until the Friday through September 1st. And it's from 5 to 8 p.m. at 2401 Kirchhoff Road. We do thank Meadows Christian Fellowship for providing that. And obviously, because it's the last meeting of the month, we do want to reiterate the 2 committees and commissions that are actually meeting. Economic Development Committee will meet Tuesday, September 5th at 6 p.m., the day after Labor Day. And tentative items to be scheduled consist of business list, feedback and distribution of the new list, the fiscal year 2018 proposed budget, the business advocate update, next level Northwest update, Dominic's property update, a business overall update, and other items that would be scheduled, and obviously a Chamber of Commerce update. Also on that night, Tuesday, September 5th at 7:30 p.m., there will be 6 public hearings coming to the Planning and Zoning Commission. You got a full night coming up for you guys. But tentatively scheduled, the items that would be consistent in that 6 will be a special use to allow a 110-foot high flagpole antenna at Kimball Hill Park. That's 3315 Campbell Drive. It is in our R1 residential area. Kathleen Gork of Insight Real Estate Incorporated is the petitioner. There will be a second item, which is a special use to allow a pediatric dental office at the property located at 2251 Plum Grove Road. That is our T1 transition area, and that's Dr. Renee Patel is the petitioner. Third item is a text amendment to Section 1122 of 154B14 of the City of Rolling Meadows zoning code to allow assisted living facilities as a special use in the T1 transitional zoning district. Mr. Patel, who just left here, from the Holiday Inn Incorporated group, and it's the Rolling Meadows Properties LLC petitioner. Also on that night, they have a special use to allow assisted living facility in the property located at 3405 Algonquin Road. And again, that's the same T1 that we mentioned. And they will have a sign appeal to allow additional wall signs and freestanding signs for the proposed hotel and assisted living facility at the property located at 3405 Algonquin Road, the T1, as we mentioned before. The 6th item that will be up for the Planning and Zoning Commission is going to be a text amendment to the T District, and the City of Rolling Meadows is actually the petitioner on that one. And again, I do want to reiterate what I mentioned last time. With school being open, if you're looking for school supplies, we always reiterate shop Rolling Meadows. Between Dollar Tree, Staples, Jewel, Myers, Walmart, there's ample opportunities to make sure that you're shopping here for those school supplies. And with that, those are items of interest.
Mr. Kronschlag, new businesses?
We actually have 3 new businesses that moved in, obviously, in 2017, July. 2 of them are mortgage companies, so kind of interesting. But no home occupation, but again, most of them are on that, if you want to call that Golf Algonquin Tollview area. But with that, nothing new to really update on that.
That brings us to the staff traffic advisory report. Mr. Volk.
Thank you, Mayor. The Traffic Review Committee met on August 9th for the month. A couple things to update council on. The Marketplace Shopping Center, traffic signage, striping, corrective action needs slowly but surely is making progress. We're down to just a few outstanding violations or deficiencies out there, and we'll continue to work with the appropriate owners to get those corrected. The second item, Euclid, Vermont intersection pedestrian crossing safety concerns. Our report indicates that we haven't yet had discussions with the county, but I did get a call Friday finally from a staff member there and had about a 30-minute discussion. They're very interested in assisting us with this, analyzing this, doing speed studies, another number of other things. We will discuss this input from the county at our next Traffic Review Committee meeting for September, so there is progress on that matter just recently. Third item, DuPont Plumtree intersection. We had a request for stop sign controls. At this time, the committee recommends putting double yellow pavement striping in that location. That is expected to be installed shortly as the first step in analyzing this intersection. We will continue to monitor it. There is a potential proposal coming forward for some single-family homes to be built on the north side of DuPont, which could change a bit the geometrics of that intersection, so we will monitor that as well to see if that comes forward. Other items are just for information or for future meetings. We're discussing bicycle safety efforts and contacting other area organizations for information and suggestions in regards to our new bike path map and other matters. Staff did have a brief discussion regarding the Holiday Inn on-site traffic and off-site traffic recently. That, as Barry said, will be coming forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission next month. We're also looking at an issue with regards to the guardrail on Wilkie Road near Killarney Court and Burdnick Street overnight parking of trailers and geometrics up there at that location. So that's our report for August.
Thank you, Mr. Vogt. Just a thought there. We were talking about adding a bicycle advisory person to the traffic advisory. I brought that up earlier, so just keep that on the radar until we get that done. I understand the environmental committee is very excited to help you guys.
That's one of the things that we're investigating, yes, Mayor.
Thank you. This brings us to budget distribution. Melissa Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the City Council packet, we're releasing the fiscal year 2018 proposed budget. There is a staff report that goes into that. On the city's website, we do have that posted, the 2018 proposed budget, on the City Council laptops and Surface Pros. That should also be there, and an email link was sent to you as well. What we're doing now is just releasing it just as a staff report. For City Council members, just as a reminder, if you wish a paper copy, let City Manager Comstock know. Certainly, we can prepare that for you. And then also, just as in past years, please see us, Barry or I, to set up the one-on-one budget meeting so that we can review the budget. Our first discussion will take place on Tuesday, September 19th for the Committee of the Whole meeting. That's the first kickoff for the proposed budget. The September 26th council meeting will have the first hearing, which is the property tax levy hearing. And then on the October 10th meeting, the City Council meeting, that will be the first hearing for the budget itself, the public hearings. And so with that, we're just releasing it tonight, no discussion, and that's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. Are there matters not on the agenda this evening? Mr. Cannon.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I just had a couple questions maybe Mr. Vogt could answer. I think it might be helpful for all of us to hear the answers. I was just curious if, Fred, if you could give us an idea if we're still going to move forward with the redo of the interchange of New Wilkie Road and Algonquin. Is that still in sight for next year?
It is still potential. It's in our budget to this year, as well as proposed for next year, to start the phase one engineering, or the what I call very preliminary design engineering. We would certainly work with Arlington Heights on that. Their staff has indicated that they want to move forward with that project as well. We did make a joint application with Arlington Heights a couple months ago to Cook County. They have a new program this year called Invest in Cook. We were not successful in getting funding for that phase one engineering. there are some thoughts, and we're trying to have some dialogue with the county as to whether it was lack of funds or something that can be improved with our application. I would strongly suggest that we seek more funding, or seek to put our application in again next year to try to get some funding assistance with them when we get into what I would call the full-blown phase one. But we want to start that project, but probably we'll do very slowly with it because there are a lot of issues that we need to identify. So that's where we are with it right now.
Okay, because one of the reasons I asked the question tonight is I was by there today, and I was a little bit surprised to see all 4 of the corners under construction for sidewalks, in light of the fact that probably the next couple of years we'll be ripping them all out again. I was a bit surprised by that.
IDOT is resurfacing Algonquin Road this year, and as part of that project, they are doing the ADA accessible improvements to the sidewalks.
Yes.
So they're doing that on their own accord. That
We're not spending any money on that?
it's not costing us anything at this point.
Sounds much better than.
And, yeah. And just to point out, if we even start the engineering this year, next year, we're probably at least 5 years out before we would see any construction at that intersection in terms of lane improvements or traffic signals. So I think we'll at least get a few years out of the improvements they're doing right now.
Okay, I guess the sister question I would ask kind of goes along with that. I was also on Gulf Road today. I noticed they're putting that bike path on the north side of Gulf Road all the way along. I wasn't even aware of that. I assume, is the state or the county paying for that? How's that getting financed?
Village of Schaumburg led that project. We are contributing 40% of the, or did contribute 40% of the local share of 20% for the engineering costs, which have already been completed. And because that sidewalk does front in Rolling Meadows in front of the atrium building. So the Schaumburg is managing that project. We're just contributing a minor amount to it to cost share with them, the local. Most of that is federal dollars.
Is that going to be a bike path or a sidewalk?
It is.
It's a bike path, technically, whereas ours was a sidewalk, which I could talk for an hour about why that is. But yes, it is part of the bike path system as you go into Schaumburg, and that's what they got the grant funding for.
Thank you so much for the answers.
Any other matters not on the agenda? The chair does have one. We do need to move forward. I will be accepting letters addressed to the mayor through September 15 for an alderman to finish the term, for someone to apply to be alderman in the 2nd Ward and finish, I believe it's a 2-year term, so it'll be 2019. So please send a letter along with your resume and make it care of City Hall, attention of the mayor. That brings us to go into closed session. Land acquisition 5ILCX 120 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act. This is a request. It does require a motion and a formal roll count. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. And it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall the council go into closed session? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Gallo?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon? Majikis?
Yes.
With 6 in favor and none opposed, we will now enter into closed session. The audience and the press are advised the council does not anticipate taking any action upon returning to open session.